Okay, friends, hello. Thank you for coming. I was just making sure everything is doing its thing like it's supposed to. Turn off the sound on my phones. All right, so welcome. My name is Michelle, and I am with Crafters Northwest, and I use Close to My Heart products in the classes that I teach. I try to make sure that everything is currently available. There are some exceptions, and when they happen, I will let you know. But most of the ribbons and twines and such that you see, we don't carry. We don't actually have anything current in our catalog that we carry. We do have some things that are retired, and you will see those things sometimes, and then some things that we never did carry that I have gotten elsewhere. So I do have some links for a few things that I will use today that I will get put into the description, because I know that you guys are going to want them, because they really are pretty fantastic. I love them. I just got them and I loved them. Alright, I forgot to add some bling on here, so I figured I'd do that while I was doing the introduction here. So this is our first card of the evening, and it's actually a pretty simple card. So we're going to do a lot of blending and stenciling and such on our cards today. So we are going to work with two colors tonight, Sapphire and Journey. And these are beautiful colors. As you can see, the Journey is the color of the year. Sapphire's been around for a good long while. And we really do, we love it. We do. So this card, I am going to use this stamp, which has been around for a little bit. Sorry, bring that down into frame. And this is the stamp set that went with Memory Lane. So this is a few months old, but it is still available. And it has this fantastic birthday sentiment, and so I thought that would be perfect. And I don't have my markers, so I'm trying to stay on screen, and it's a smaller screen, and so yeah, I apologize if I go off screen. Like, I really thought that these were on screen a little bit more. Alright, you get seasick, close your eyes for just a moment. I'm going to adjust. That's better. Okay. It's, I don't know. Anyway, it'll be fine. So, I am also using the Pennant Thin Cuts. Also still available. I'm using this, but I'm not using the full length. I'm actually cutting it down a little bit, and I used it for the smaller bit as well. Let's see. The other thing that we are using, is the 2 of the 3 pieces of this stencil. And this is the Slimline Card Front Stencil Pack number 1. So you get all 3 of these in the pack. And we're using them slightly differently than they're designed to do. But basically, you know, if you line them up, these lines are meant to go in the center here. And then this one creates another arrow shape here and it leaves a white border between the two. But we're not using this one today. We are using these two, and I have just put a piece of scrap paper behind them so that I can just put the piece that I'm using in there and have everything easy peasy. You are going to get dirty. I'm actually kind of surprised at how clean my hands are currently. I did look like a Smurf not too terribly long ago. So, we are going to use some foam. This is the Slimline foam and shaker kit. You get the acetate and the outline for a Slimline card, and then the inside is cut so you can use those as well. It has some stripes, and then the rest are cut into squares. Super handy. Alright, so pieces. What do we have? We have card base. I am not doing the flap of the envelope with any of the cards tonight because we are stenciling with our ink, and the ink is water based. And if you're going to mail your cards, I don't know about you, but I live in the Pacific Northwest. It is currently raining. It rains probably 300 out of 365 days of the year. So putting something that's going to get washed away in the water out into the elements, probably not a great idea. So that's why I did not. You can, if you are just going to hand these cards, you can totally do an extra piece and put it on the back and be good. So we have our card base and envelope. We have another piece. This actually was a scrap that I had in my bin. And this is 2 3/4. It was by 12. I've chopped off a little bit. We're only going to need 5.5 inches of it, obviously, but it is a Slimline stencil, so you know, use what you need to and be happy. So we have a piece of sapphire cardstock, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. White daisy, 4 by 5 1/4. Striped irresistibles, 4 by 5 1/4 as well. I have 2 strips of sapphire that are 1/2 inch by 6 inches. I just cut it in half. It's too long. We'll cut it off. It just makes it easier. I did cut an extra banner just in case. And so I have white daisy banner. That piece is not straight there, but that's okay because we're going to trim it down. And then I had this little piece left over from one of the other cards, and I thought it would be perfect to just pair underneath there, and it worked beautifully. So I just used that same die. I centered it ish. Clearly I did not center it perfectly, but that's okay. And we're just going to lay it underneath after we get done with our stamping. Okay, so those are the things that we are using for the first card. So let me move some things out of the way. And then I do have another thing to show you before we get started 100%. Try to put things so we don't lose them. I'm going to put this off over here. So we are ink blending, right? So therefore we need some tools. So if you've watched videos, you are probably familiar with these. These are the ink blending tools that we carry. And I do not even normally, I do not have a brush for every color. I don't have the space for it. But what I will do occasionally if I'm doing a lot of things like tonight is I will have separate brushes for each color because they are different enough. And then if I need to, I can wash one of them out completely. It will be stained, but I can get all of the ink out of it and use it for different color. All right, so I did get 2 new tools the last couple days, and they were recommended to me. And like I said at the beginning, I will put links to them in the description of this video, and also on the blog post when I get that put up. So number 1 are these little guys. Okay, so these little guys are blending brushes, right? Pretty much the same. It is completely flat, whereas this is domed. That doesn't really make a difference. Well, I guess it does depending on your project, but I got them just surely due to the size difference. And you'll see in tonight's cards how much of a difference it makes. It makes things so much faster and easier. Okay, so I do have one for Sapphire and one for Journey. I will be washing probably this one out later. I did get a set of 4. It was less than $25, I think, if I remember correctly. Like I was saying with the brushes, like I have 4. I'm not going to have 2 blue ones, but I did it for tonight just to make the video go quicker and easier. And then I got a set of these brushes. And these are nice, sturdy brushes. So as soon as I felt how heavy they were, I was so happy that I got them. I'm obviously not going to play with that one because I don't need to be any more blue than I am. Again, it's the same material, and the bristles are stiff, so I really like that. They are square, and let's see, the pack that I got, yep, okay. I got 2 different styles, and so one has an angled brush, and the other one is just a straight brush. So, obviously, not played with these ones just yet, and that is perfectly fine and perfectly okay. So, we are going to be using this one today to give a little bit more depth to our projects. All right, now that you've been kind of introduced to everything, let's go ahead and get started making our first card. All right, so we are going to bring this in, and I have this just so I can just push this in. Goodness, in theory I can do that. There we go. Although I did forget a step. I want to put just a tiny little dab of glue. Okay, let's try this again. So, you do not have to do it this way. I just wanted to be able, sorry. I just wanted to be able to have something, actually, not centered, there we go. To have something that I could move the whole thing around so that when I was turning it to do the other side, which will make sense here in just a second, that I could do it and not have to worry about lining things up again. So we are going to start with our Journey ink. And I want this nice and dark, so I am not even going to tap off. Right, normally when you are ink blending, you will tap off the first little bit. All right, I know that I'm not going to need this, so I'm just not even going to worry about that little bit of an arrow down there. All right. And then we're just going to easy peasy fill this in. So yes, you will probably get a little bit messy. Okay. So step one is done. Now I just pop the tape, right? Because we only did just those 2 little dabs of tape. And we pop out our piece. And then I will clean this later. You guys don't need to watch me do that. I'm just going to take a washcloth to it and be good to go. All right. Next up is our sapphire. Now this one, if you put it in as designed, and you can see that this one is stained. This is actually washed off. It's not washed off super well, but it is washed off. So this one, it is designed to go like this, right? And then the other one that we're not using would create color that the mini stripe would sit on top. So, like I said, we're not going to do that, but I decided it would be fun to move this down a little bit. Sorry, I don't know how well you can see this. I just, with the glare, I cannot see it very well. I'm trying to make sure it's straight. All right, 1 second here. All right, so sapphire. Now, I could use this on here. However, this is going to pick up a lot of ink and it's going to sit on top of our stencil, and we're not necessarily going to be able to pick it up and use it very well. You can to some degree, but not as much as I would like to. So that's where this little guy comes into play. So we are just going to do this because you need to do circles, right? You can't just do back and forth because it does not cover very well when you do that. I tried. And then it also likes to move the stencil, and so then you get the fuzzy lines and things along those lines. It's pretty simple. If you aren't necessarily trying to teach it as a video, it's kind of relaxing. It is still relaxing for a video, but I have the, added stress of, is this taking too much time? So hopefully the answer is no. I am going to, I'm going to grab just the corner This is not wet, this is dry. To just try to remove some of that ink so less of it transfers to my fingers. Because I don't know if you noticed, but I am holding down just on the other side of the apex of the arrow. So that hopefully it doesn't move, but if it does move, it moves less than it would have otherwise. And then, like with the journey, I want the sapphire to be nice and dark. So, no tapping off, putting directly on. I do try to move around my stamp pad, picking up the ink so it distributes that a little bit more evenly. Alright, so I'm just making sure that the edges are good and covered. Okay, so while we have the ink out, let's set this aside for a second. And, well, I guess we just have more stuff to do, but let's stamp our sentiment really quick. So, have a beautiful birthday. We're going to ink that up in Journey. I cleaned it too well. Oh goodness. I know, not something you would think that you would hear. Right? But look at how much that bubbled up. It actually could be kind of a good technique. Not one we're going for today. But if you happen to clean your stamp too well, like you'd ever think that would be a problem, just go ahead and rub it on the back of your hand. Hopefully you don't have a whole lot of dead skin there. And then we're going to come over to the sapphire and we're just going to do the Have a Beautiful. And then we have this fun two-toned Sentiment. No masking needed. Alright, done with the stamping. And then, I guess let's take this piece out before we put the stencil off to the side. Probably help a little bit. Look how beautiful that is. I love it. Alright. Last little bit of ink stuff for this card. We are going to use our Journey ink. And our goal is to be very light-handed with this. Right? We want this to be definitely light. You can go dark and have it be the same color. And that could be really awesome looking. Alright, so we just choop, 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 choop. Tap off because we do want it to be light. And then very little pressure. And you want to go both ways when you're swirling. Rotate it. I have a little post-it note. So I will tell you, when I did the first card, I forgot I had this. And so I was doing it with this brush. And I was just doing it with the ink that was left on the brush, which was more than enough ink. And I was like, this is taking so long. Which I know sounds dumb, because I mean, it really didn't take very long at all. But, I remembered that I had the big brush. I was like, oh, well, this would have been faster. Alright, so I am going to use a dry corner of that towel, and we are just going to buff our paper. And the Irresistibles have designs on them. We're going to use a different one on a different card. And so it's pre-designed to have clear embossing on it in a design of whatever fashion for that particular paper. Okay, so we are done with all of our ink, but we do need to cut this down. Could I have cut this down into all the pieces that we needed beforehand and inked them all separately? Yes. Would it have saved us any time? Absolutely not. So that's why we did it this way. And the other thing is I did this 4 by 5 1/4 because then I can get 6 of them out of a sheet, right? So I like to do some paper saving. If you don't want to do any paper saving, take this whole piece, use it on your front, and then cut another piece that's 1/2 inch for the inside. Wait, where's my inside piece? Oh my gosh, I don't have my inside piece. Oh. Oh my goodness, you guys. I don't have it yet because we haven't cut it yet. Anyway, if you didn't want to paper save, 4 by 5 1/4 on the front, 1/2 inch by 5 1/4 on the inside. If you do want to paper save, you can do what I'm doing and cut this down, and you'll actually have leftovers from this that you can use in some other way, kind of however you want it, I guess. All right. Oh my gosh, that's so stupid. All right, so let's cut off 1/2 inch here for the inside. Voila. All right. If you don't want to have anything left over, cut this piece in half. Okay. And that's honestly the easiest thing. And it doesn't even have to be equally in half. All right, so 3 is 1 1/2, and it was 3 1/2, so a quarter. So 1 3/4 cuts this in half perfectly. And then you have no leftovers. But what I had done originally is I did 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, and then I had a different remainder. So this is actually one of the 1 inch pieces, and I could have used it, but when I was kind of laying things out, it left a little bit of a gap, so I didn't want to do that. So I switched out what was left over, which is, let's see if we can see here. So it was approximately 1 1/2 inches. I mean, you can do the math. It starts out at 4. But, so the way I just did it, there was no leftovers. Nope, that's the extra piece from the other card. There we go. Now there's no leftovers. So we have 1/2 inch, and then 1 3/4, 1 3/4. So sorry, this is my work phone dinging off. I need to make sure that everything is all good. All right. So, I guess I could have brought in my big trimmer because we do need to cut down this piece to 5 1/2. And if you want more than just this tiny little bit showing, right, adjust it. Let's move it up to 6 inches. Then you have a little bit more. Right, you have some left over, so you can do something with that. And then flip that around and cut it at 5 1/2. Okay. So that gives you a little bit of variety there. All right, let's start the gluing process. So let's do the inside piece first. Super simple, right? If you run off the edge of your paper with your glue, I highly recommend, once you're finished, rubbing your finger along the edge. And that just helps make sure that you don't have anything that's going to stick out and possibly cause havoc with your card. Because you don't want to accidentally glue your card closed. Okay, next up. For this, you do want to have your glue as close to the edge as possible. And I'm just adding the glue to the top and the bottom. And I'm going to grab my Versamat really quick so that I can attempt to make sure that everything is straight and lined up. So I have this lined up on the 1 inch line at the 2 inch line. Okay. I could do 1/4 of an inch, but I think that's way too much. So I want to do 1/8 of an inch, and of course that is not marked on our mats. That would be way too many lines. So I'm just going to put the corner here between the 2 marks, and then I'm going to line it up along that 2-inch line, and then that means that this line should be straight. Okay, and then again, and like I said, these pieces are too long, I know that. It is easier to trim off the too long little pieces like this than it is to try to line them up exactly, and maybe you did or didn't cut quite correctly. And so just trimming them off is so much easier. Right, and it just goes super quick, just like this. All right, next up, actually we'll leave this part until the very end because then that will make a little bit more sense, or we'll be able to pick how we like it. So when you are attaching your pieces, you want to make sure that you have them the same way, because this clearly is not the same way, so it does not look like one piece top to bottom. Whereas this does, right? So hopefully that makes sense. And there's just going to be that tiny little gap. I like to try to be smart with my paper, especially the specialty papers. And that's what the Irresistibles are. So you get, I can show you here in a moment, you get 2 designs or 2 sheets of 6 designs. All right, so this is just a 1/8 inch border, so make sure that you put that in the right spot, like I tried to not do. And yes, I have switched back to my green glue because, as I mentioned, I'm in the Pacific Northwest and we already have a lot of water, and the blue glue has a lot of, it seems to have more moisture in it than the green glue. So I don't know why that is. I just know that that's how it comes across, and it takes longer to dry because of where I live, and so I don't want to have to sit and babysit my stuff to make sure it gets dry, if that makes sense. All right, card is the right way. This does not really matter which way is up or down, just that it has a small border. All right. There's a little bit of glue on my bone folder. I don't think it'll work, but let's see if I can try to not make this worse. And use my gum eraser. I did not know what this was. Growing up, I'd seen them all the time. But I had no idea. Look at that. It worked, it worked. So in case you don't know, because I don't tend to use them on video, this is a gum eraser. It's actually been cut down a little bit, but they're not that big, but they're slightly larger than this one is when you get them new. and it picks up adhesive, some adhesive. It does not work on liquid glass. It works on Tombow, it works on tape runners, ATG, all sorts of things. It erases it off your paper. It's great. All right, so you can do yours this way or this way. I think to add some variety, we'll put this one this way, right? Because the original is the other way. And I might actually put this one more centered, just because I can. Tape runner. Make sure that I have those edges pretty decently. Alright, and then just put it down wherever. So you can put it down so it's a larger space on top versus on bottom, or you can put it in the center. Whatever makes your heart happy. Okay, almost done. So you saw earlier I was going to put this on. However, oh, I need to trim this down. However, that will depend on how everything looks. So how much space you cut off of this will depend on where you put your sentiment on your banner. And so if you have it a little bit higher up, your banner is going to be a little bit bigger. If you have it super low, it'll be smaller, kind of whatever. So you just kind of want to balance the amount of white space at the bottom to what you cut off to have at the top. So this one I have actually a little bit not enough space at the top compared to at the bottom. Right, so I would probably make this one just a smidge longer. And so in this case, I am going off of, I know you can't see it very well, but when I move my paper, I can see the sentiment kind of here. There's a piece that comes up, and so I can see it underneath there. So I'm using that to kind of judge where my paper is going to be at. All right, now I'm going to lay this out. I'm going to put this one, like I said, on this side, just to have a bit of variety. And then I'm just going to kind of hold it there. To put this under to visualize what I want it to look like, and then I will pull it off to glue it down. So use my tweezers because I got big fingers. So I can have it super small, or I can even have it super long, which I think probably right about there is what I want. So that way I can visualize it, I can eyeball it. If you wanted to make sure it's exact, use a little bit of washi. This is hard to do, by the way. And just tape that on there, right, like that. And then you have the ability to flip it over, add your glue, and flip it back, and that's in the exact spot you wanted it. Right. And I'm just lining that up at the very top of that striped arrow paper that we made. And we're almost done. Come in and add some of these Journey colored dots. And I used the stars, which I'm going to do again because they work so well on this card. So if you have not used these yet, these dots are very, very thin at the edges. Oops. And so they're a little bit harder to get up than some of our other embellishments. Voila! And that, my friends, is card number 1. Super cute, right? Alright. Next, on to card 2. Let's move some of these things out of the way. And I guess I semi-fibbed because I had the foam tape and we didn't use it for that first card, but we will use it on this next card. Alright, so we are going to use an older stamp set, Santa Fuel. This was available a year ago. There are a few left. And they're super fun. Perfect if you are going to give a friend a coffee gift card. So, sorry, I need to take a quick drink. Alright, so I have the Wishing You a Whole Latte Happy Holidays. And then we are going to use both of these, the circles thin cuts and the small circle shaker window. And this circle is actually the same size as this middle circle. So that comes in handy, but we are also using this circle and a larger circle. And I do have everything cut out. Oh, we are also using the snowflake thin cuts. These also came out last year, but they are still available as well. So we'll use this one on this card, and then we're going to use the other two on the next card. Oh, I was going to show you the irresistible papers. Let me do that real quick, because we're using them again. Here we go. So 6 designs, and so we have a sprinkles, a daisies, a plaid, some leaves, some stripes which we just used, and some hearts. So we used this. We're going to use this. And this layout here, all of these papers are irresistible papers, as are these papers here. So you can do a rainbow and some other different things. So they're super fun. There's lots of different examples in the Essentials book with those papers. Alright, so this is the card that we're making. Super fun, right? It is a little gift card holder because, you know, it is that season. And then you could actually, just by switching up one little bit, you could totally use this year round. Wishing you a whole latte, and mask off happy holidays. And you can put any number of words in here. You could do fun. This stamp set is what made me think of it. Wishing a whole latte fun, a whole latte love. Yeah, anything. There's not anything, obviously, but so many options. But, and then there is the inside. So this is that irresistible paper. And while we don't have the silver foil paper anymore, I kind of cheated. This is actually paper that you can get right now. And it is the silver foil, what is it called? Silver Foil Patterns Paper Pack. That is a mouthful. But one of the patterns is this stripe. And so I just cut, do I have any of it left right here? So I just cut the stripe from over here. And you can see the snowflake's been cut out of it, and so that's what I used. So it's not as thick as our cardstock, but if you needed some silver foil and you didn't have any of that, you can order this. This is still available, and the next card uses a different paper from that paper pack as well, but super fun. This is what we're gonna do. So what do we need, or what do we have? So again, we have our card base. We have our gift card. We have a sapphire 4 1/4 by 5 3. No, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Our irresistible. Actually, let's set that aside. We'll do these pieces kind of separately. Goodness. All right, so we have what is this? 8 1/2 by 3, scored at 4 1/4. We have 1 3/4 by 5, and we'll do some scoring on that. And then this is 3/4 by 4 1/2. This is that small shaker die. And we're going to go ahead and keep this in so there's no caving in of anything. We have a larger circle, and I do have 2 smaller circles just in case I can't stamp very well in White Daisy. We have our snowflake, and it's just a partial because we're going to tuck it in anyway, and that is how wide our, here if I flipped over you can see it that way, that is how wide our stripe was. So alright, so our irresistible papers, we have 4 by 5 1/4. Like I said earlier, I can get 6 of these from a paper bag. This is 2 3/4 by 4. I did not write these down. This one is 1/2 inch by 5 1/4, and this is 1 inch by 3 3/4 inches. So yes, in this instance we have multiple pieces, but it'll go really well. So let's go ahead and get, actually, before we ink up, I want to do some scoring and some original gluing and then stamping of the sentiment, and then we can do the rest of it so that there's some dry time for stuff. Okay, so on our 5-inch piece, we are going to score this. And we're going to score it 1/2 inch on 2 short sides and 1 long side. Okay, so 5 inches, so I could do the 1/2 inch over here. It's kind of, as you can see, that's kind of a pain. So I'm just going to do this 4 1/2, rotate 180, 4 1/2, and then that's 1 3/4, so 1/2 inch is 1 1/4. All right. Simple square. So we are going to fold and burnish on our score lines. In the past, I would have just snipped straight across. I'm not going to do that today because I want to show you that I want a little bit of overlap, which is not normal. Normally we don't. So I'm actually going to create a slightly wider miter than I would normally. Sorry, words went away for a second. So I'm just going to do that on these corners. And then just ever so slight from the score line out on the top. So you can see those are just super tiny. All right, so we want to fold the bottom up first. No, we don't. We want the sides in first, and then we want the bottom. And you can see there's a bit of an overlap there. And we're going to glue and then put some blocks on there so that those can be glued down first, and it fights us a little bit less when we're putting everything together. But the reason that we do this is so that our gift card has the track of the sides to go down, versus if we do it this way, we put our card in, it can get caught right there on that piece, which we don't want. So that's why if you're doing a gift card pocket, you put the sides down first, and it's kind of nice to actually have it overlap, which I know is different than what we normally do, but sometimes you gotta do things differently just so that it works. Okay, oops. So I am just going to put some dots here in the corners. There's not really a lot of glue right there. And then put a couple blocks on there, and then we're just going to push it off to the side so it can do its thing while we do our thing. Alright, and then stamp so that we can have that done and out of the way. Since we had issues earlier, let's go ahead and bring in our little piece here. perfect. Voila. I like it when everything works nice and perfect. Works well together. Alright, so we can set that aside and we can start being messy again. Alright. We are going to start with our Journey ink. I'm going to ink up all of our pieces and get nice and messy. So make sure that we have the right little guy. Actually, let's start with big and move to small so we can use what we have. Oops. Don't press too hard. Alright. So I didn't mean to start on the paper like that. But as you can see, we are going to go darker. So that's not going to hurt us. Alright. Remember to go both directions with your circles. Let's see, do you have enough? You do want to be careful on your 1/2 inch piece so that you don't bend it and tear it. I'm just trying to pick up the ink off of my all-purpose mat, which I didn't point out. That's our surface today. That's why it looks slightly different than normal. So as you can see, picking up a ton of ink off of here, which is why you start with the bigger first and go smaller, because you can use less ink that way. Okay. We have started there. Now we're going to move on to our sapphire. Again, start with our big and move to our small, and we're going to use our brush. We're just going to start with this guy. But we are going to use the brush on the smaller pieces because this is a big piece. Alright, so we don't want to take all night doing this. And this is why I was all inky. Okay, we are going to buff between our layers because as you can see, even though we are buffing this off, it does still keep a little bit of that blue on there, right? You can see this white is brighter than this white, which that's fine. Okay, table wants to be all sorts of wiggly today. Again, buffing. And the back side of your cardstock is going to become a mess, which is fine. Okay, so this is where we are actually going to move to our smaller brush. Because this piece is so much smaller in width, we don't want to use the bigger brushes. Although it is kind of funny with this brush, you can see the ink actually reacting with the embossing. I don't know if you can see that on camera. So I'm darkening at the edges, obviously, and trying to leave some space in the center to be lighter. I'm trying to tilting my hand a little bit so that you can maybe see the reaction of the ink moving off of that embossing. So I am going to go over kind of the whole thing, which we didn't over here, just to kind of blend things a little bit better to make sure I don't have any harsh lines or any spots that kind of don't have as much ink as the rest. Okay, so that piece is done. This one, we can use some of the ink that we have on here. Oh, we forgot to buff. Okay. So we want nice, soft blending, which this brush is great at doing. Right. And then we're going to go through and we're going to add another layer just to make these edges even darker. I'm trying to not go up too far because I want there to be a gradient. Kind of all the way around. And then I'll just kind of do a quick blend like we did on that smaller piece. You can see this is kind of two darker pieces, so this one we might not have to do very much on the edges, and I think actually we're going to go ahead and use this brush because we don't have to do a whole lot, and I don't want to inadvertently put any of the harsh lines on there. Okay. And then we'll do that again, and we'll do a little bit bigger than we did on the previous piece, just because this one is, you know, slightly bigger. And then if I feel the need, I can go back with that smaller pen and hit any spots that I feel like I may have missed. Okay. That is all of our ink for this card. So let's clean up a smidge so that we can make our cards. So this is just a washcloth with water. And as you see, you kind of become a smurf. I have realized that Dawn Power Wash actually does a really good job at taking most of the ink off, especially with a Scrub Daddy. Okay. Make sure my fingers are dry so I don't cause issues. Alright, so let's attach some things together. Okay. So we are going to do our ring here. And then just center it. I only put glue on the inner ring so that if by chance I didn't get it lined up very well, I could, getting glue in the center won't matter because we're going to then put this piece in the center again so that we don't have to worry about any pieces falling in. And then this one just goes right on top. And this fits right at that dashed line. It's actually a pretty fantastic line-up tip. Okay. So let's put some more layers together. I mean, honestly, that's kind of a cool background. Nice, fun, grungy background. In case you needed an idea for something grungy. So again, this is just a tiny border. This is that piece that was 8.5 by 3, scored at 4 1/4. And then we're just going to glue this piece right there on the front. If you flip over your piece and burnish on the back side, unlike the first card, then you don't have to worry about getting glue on the front of your project. Alright, and that part is done actually. Let's this will go just right in the center, and yes, this piece is also slightly too long. Again, it's easier to have something be slightly too long to then trim it than it is to try to fix something that is slightly too short. Right? That's my theory anyway. Scissors. Forgot what I was doing there for a second. Okay. And then our pocket should be fairly dry at this point. So we're just going to I trimmed this piece down. I think I forgot because I had it at 4, and then I realized that my pocket is 4. Yep. So I'm just going to add color from my brush. I'm not even going to get any more ink. Now it fits. See, this is why we dry fit things, to make sure that we are doing everything right, because sometimes we don't. And yes, it would have been best to put this piece on before we tacked our pockets together, or corners together, but we didn't have it done yet. So for the video, we did it in a different order. All right, now, where's my white piece? Let's see. All right. And then clearly I missed it and missed seeing that I missed it. Our 1/2 inch, nope, our 4 by 5 1/4 white piece for the inside of our card. Trying to make sure I don't smear any blue ink inside the card. Okay, now it's time to put things together. Using the liquid glue because, again, this is just slightly larger, smaller than our card base. So we wanted to be able to have a little bit of wiggle room. All right, we're going to let that dry for a few moments, and we are going to kind of use this and dry fit this. Now, I did, on this card, I did put the snowflake here on this side, but I didn't think about it in advance, and I'm kind of afraid of it getting bent by opening because it wants to curl up. And so I think for this card, I'm going to put it on the other side, so that I don't have to worry about that nearly as much. Right? So I kind of like right there. So let's grab some washi again. We'll burnish that so it stays on really well. And now for the foam tape, I'm going to make sure to put them not only on top of but on either end, kind of bookend that snowflake piece to help make sure everything is held down. And if you are new to my videos, welcome. And don't let the amount of foam tape I use worry you. You do not have to use that much if you don't want to. All right, next is our little, ooh, glad I wasn't closer to the edge on that. A little flap. Make sure that we're gluing it on the right way and the right way. And then we're just going to center as best as possible. Now the designs don't quite line up. It would be really cool if they did, but I don't know that I want to worry about that. And short of cutting the paper from the center of this, I don't know that I would be able to do that. All right, almost done. So don't want to put too much. I know it looks like there's a ton, but I'm just kind of spreading what's there. And then we're just going to center this left and right. And try to have an equal border at the bottom. And then, let's see. Nope, that didn't really make it any easier. All right. I love it when they're really easy to do, like these ones are currently. Until I say something and then it's not. All right, and then we just center. I'm not used to not being able to hold this with my right hand. And voila! That is card number 2. With our little gift card. Right? Super fun. All right. Last card. Okay. So this, again, not a ton of stamping. Only just a little bit. So we are going to use this stamp set, Picture This Christmas. Now you cannot get this stamp set by itself anymore. You could for a bit, but the Christmas card kits from last year, some with shakers and some without, are still available. So if you are someone who wants to send pictures with your Christmas card, last year's special, perfect for that. If you don't want pictures, this year's special, perfect for that. But we are going to use this Wishing Peace and Love and Cheer, and we're actually not going to use the In the New Year because it doesn't fit on the tag, and yeah, I needed it to fit on the tag. So we are using this tag right here, and this is the all-purpose tags. And yeah, and then we are going to use some twine. This is not stuff that we've carried, but I've had this I don't know how long. So this one is American Crafts, and this one is Crafters Square. So this was Dollar Tree. Yeah, and I did not actually tie the ribbon on because I was trying to figure out how best to do that. So I'll show this part. So this is kind of a little sneak peek of the card. So this tag has the two holes in it. So I'm not sure. You know what? Let's just see if this works well. Actually, where is one of the things that I always recommend for people to have is a needle threader. And I have one somewhere. I just don't know where. So, sorry, I'm just trying this really quick to see if I like how it looks through there. This is why the needle threader would come in handy. Pinch. There we go. Pinch and pull. Haha. Not exactly how I expected it to go, but I think we can make this work. There we go. And now we can just tie it like a bow. This does not give anything to hang from the way I'm currently doing it, but if you futzed with it a little bit more, you can probably figure that out. Alright, let me take off these pieces and put this on the card, because other than that the card is done, so that you can see what it is we're doing. All right, and there is our card. Leave these just a little bit long. Anyway, so this is what we're making right now. Again, some of that gold foil paper and some on the inside as well. So what do we have? We have our mask. This is just a post-it, but if you have masking paper, that is fantastic as well. Move all this stuff out of the way. All right, of course, you know we have our card base, and we have our inside 4 by 5 1/4. Our front, this is another pattern on that foil paper pack, so it's stars and dots, also 4 by 5 1/4. I have 2 tags cut, again in case I needed to do that because I'm a klutz. This piece is not that size. Oh, I know what that is now. I'm like, I put notes on here. What are these notes for? They're useful. They're just not what I need in this second. All right, this is, what is this? 1 1/4 by 5 1/4 of the sapphire paper. And then we have apparently I am either missing or did not do enough snowflakes. So I have some snowflakes, but they're white, and I have one on the inside. Oh, I think I just didn't cut one because I thought, anyway. So we can use white. And snowflakes. All right, let's go ahead and stamp first. Get that underway. And like I said, we are going to mask. So I'm just using this Post-it. This is one of the Post-its that is sticky all the way across. Which is really handy when it comes to this. So this particular card, we're only using sapphire. We're not using Journey. Okay. And so we're done with that part. So yay for only needing to stamp once. And we'll set that aside. And we will bring in our big guy again. And just lay on some color. So I did make this dark because I wanted it to kind of look like a dark night sky. I love how much faster it goes when you have a large brush. And again, inky fingers. And then we are going to put some ink on this piece as well, but just to kind of darken up the edges a little bit. That's all the ink blending we're doing. Not so bad that time, right? Alright, let's clean this up. If you wanted to make a whole bunch of these cards, you could totally do the whole sheet, the whole 12 by 12 sheet, and then cut it down. Now we do also need to burnish on here. And that silver foil is going to resist the ink. Okay. Would you believe we're almost done? It's amazing. All right, we're going to bring in our little trimmer again because we need smaller pieces. So this one, you're also going to have extras on this one. So 1/2 inch, so cut this down to 3.5, and that will be the inside, and then 2 3/4. And then this will be your extra. So you can make another card. I don't know that I like that, but anyway, so that's an extra piece. Or you could just cut your piece down to what that would be 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. But I hadn't figured out all the measurements and stuff when I started mine. So if you cut yours down to 4 1/4 or 4 by 5 1/4, then you'll have an extra piece. If you cut it at 3 1/4, then you'll be able to do the perfect amount. All right, now it's time to put together this card super fast. You wouldn't necessarily think so because it looks like it takes much longer. But that's kind of the beauty in it. So this was one of the outside edges, so I am making sure that the darker part is on the bottom. Right, super simple so far. Easy to do. Now, if you are one of my princesses, or if you have watched my videos for a while, this next trick will not be new to you. But this is our cheater trick. Okay. So this is something I do all the time because that way I don't get things crooked. So, for example, if I were to attach these to this card separately, I might inadvertently get one crooked, right? Hopefully I wouldn't get it that crooked. But then if I go to lay down this piece next to it, it's crooked, or I might lay it down and it not line up, or you know, those are obviously extremes. And I know people do them unintentionally, and so I'm not trying to make fun of anyone. I don't like how it looks for my cards. And so I try to figure out an easy way to make sure that that doesn't happen on my cards. And it gets really more pronounced when you have multiple strips on the front of your card. 3, 4, 5, 7 strips on your card. You can easily get wonky super fast, and then, I don't know about you, but I get frustrated. So, making sure that my darker side is on the outside. And this is my cut side, and I'm going to keep that next to my sapphire here. I'm going to flip it over to the back side, and then I'm going to take some washi. And I think now we have used washi on every single card. Not that you would know it by looking at the card. Okay, but now you have one piece that you are attaching to the front of your card. Not 2 pieces, not 5 pieces, just one. So it makes it a lot easier. Now somehow I managed to still have a space between. Not quite sure how I did that, so let's try that again. And the washi tape will come off of your cardstock much easier than it will come off of your foil paper. So I'm just going to peel it back just a little bit. So the other thing that I can do, because I now have a white edge here, is I can just real quick take my ink pad to it, and now I no longer have a white edge. And let's go ahead and do that on this piece as well. I could do it to all of the sides. I don't need to, just where they kind of connect. There. Much better. All right, and then make sure you have glue on both sides of your connection line. Right, you still kind of, when it comes to the glue, you still need to treat it as if it's multiple pieces and have glue on all of the edges. Okay, almost done. Look at that. All right, so we're going to come in with a little bit more washi. Actually, I did do glue, but washi would be so much easier, so we're going to do that. And we're just going to kind of figure out where and how we want our snowflake. And then we will attempt to pick that up. So I'm going to snip this one off because it interferes with our hole. I'm going to do the same on this one. It doesn't quite interfere, but it might anyway, if that makes any sense. Okay, so this is what we have so far. We will glue this on in a bit so that, because it's that foil paper, it again will bend fairly easily. And poke these little dots out. It was really nice. This cut really well with this. With this die. This die can be finicky. I recommend running it forward and backwards, not just one time through. All right, and then let's grab our ribbon. Nope, twine, it's not ribbon. Oh, come on now. I don't have enough hands for this. Are you kidding me? Goodness. Alright. We're going to do about that much. So this is approximately the width of the all-purpose nut. And You know what? I think I'm going to do something slightly different. So I'm going to keep this, but let's see if we can make this a little bit easier. We'll see. I might just make it harder. Alright, this is, stop it. What? 8 inches or so. As you saw, I did not measure. Alright, so top hole, front to back, bottom hole, back to front with the loops. Again, I highly recommend a needle threader. It works amazing on here.
Okay.
And
because I know that was a problem at Oregon City for a while.
Sorry, hubby is taking a work call. Right, so I'm not gonna make this super tight just yet, because here's my idea. All right, we're gonna make an even fuller bow. So we're gonna take what we cut already, and we'll probably need much less than what's here, but that's okay. So we're gonna put this between, wait, here, let me show you what we have. So I have done this. So, right, I did, let's make this so it's a little bit tight. Which one do I need to pull? There we go. All right. So I did the loop top, front to back, bottom, back to front, and then threaded it through. Right. So this is normally what you'll do with a one hole tag. Right. I just have not pulled it tight yet, because I'm going to now take this piece, right, that original piece that we cut, and I'm going to thread it through that hole, right, so it looks like this. Okay, now I'm going to tighten up this one, and we'll do something else with that here in just a minute. Okay, so now we have this, and let's tie a bow. If you are more comfortable, you can do the knot first, but you don't actually have to. So the difficult part here is going to keep all of the layers together. And this would be so much easier without the snowflake here, by the way. Okay, so we have these two that are loops. So let's go ahead and cut those, because we're going to anyway, and we don't want to confuse these loops with our bow loops. There we go. Try to make our bow loops even. Try to bring these strings down. But of course, I've done something so that it doesn't want to. They want to be in front, that's why. Okay, so similar size, here we go. Now you can just hang it like this. If you wanted it to be a little bit more stable, you could take all of these. I'm going to trim them to make it easier to thread them. And I'm going to we're currently in the front. We're gonna loop over and go from back to front. And then you have kind of a pull. Okay. Our stuff is a little bit kind of crazy. All right. Foam tape, and we are almost done. Awesome, awesome. Okay. And you can kind of arrange. Ooh, don't pull too hard. Arrange things kind of however, and then to make things easy and have far less dry time, let's use a glue dot. This center isn't actually connected, so I don't want to leave it on the roll there. Okay. And then just, I'm going to kind of make sure that you don't have it too low. I don't want it to go off of the card. And then voila. Card number 3. So, hopefully these cards have inspired you to pull out your inks and your stencils and your irresistibles and the foil pattern papers and create something fun, because any of this stuff could be done with any combination of colors. You could do pinks or yellows or greens or oranges or whatever, and you would have beautiful. I don't know how well pink would necessarily go with snowflakes. Actually, I've seen pink winter stuff. It's really cute. So anyway, those are the cards for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me on the live. Thank you for joining me on the replay. If you make these cards, I would love to see them, because I love it when you guys are inspired to make the cards I show you. So thank you, and I will see you guys next week. Have a great night. Bye.